All right, welcome back. So we have Iran, we have North Korea. Both stories have huge economic potential consequences. Both run enormous risks. Both come with a great potential for unintended consequences that will delve out from all of these. To dig in deeper into all of these developments, I want to bring in Ken Courtis. He's the chairman at Starfort Investment Holdings, and he joins us from New York. Ken, let's start with North Korea and the meeting that they're going to have on June 12th in Singapore with U.S. President Donald Trump. How important is it that they were able to pin this down, get those details worked out, and what do you make just of how we've got to this point so far?
Well, I think, these meetings, these series of meetings, the Trump-Kim meeting, but also the Moon-Kim meetings, the president of China has met now with Kim twice in the last 6 weeks. There's a summit coming up in the next few days between Japan, South Korea, and China. There's a summit coming up between Russia and North Korea. All of these are the most important meetings, I think, in Northeast Asia since Nixon and Kissinger went to China in 1972. So this really, if we move ahead here and have some positive outcome of these meetings, this will change the geopolitics and perforce the economics of Northeast Asia. And Peter, as you know well, the engine of growth of the world economy today is Northeast Asia. It's China and the countries around it that are pulling much of the world economy at the moment. So this is really a big deal.
And we're already beginning to see elements, if not the actual peace dividend itself. I mean, South Korea is already talking about a $35 billion rail link to connect North Korea to the rest of the world, really. Is that the kind of thing that could really come quite quickly? I mean, should we expect to see infrastructure and real fundamental changes to how the Korean Peninsula works, if indeed this meeting can go well?
Well, I think this meeting, Peter, opens up a longer period of negotiations between lower officials on all the details around what denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula actually means. For the North Koreans, giving up their deterrent, as they call it, that is their ballistic missiles and their bomb, would only happen if they have very strong and unbreakable security guarantees from the Russians, from the Chinese, and from the Americans. And Trump's behavior in being non-compliant first with the treaty with Korea or with Iran, and now breaking it unilaterally, means that the North Koreans are going to be even stiffer in their requirements for the security requirements and commitments and guarantees for their regime. But should all of that happen, you will see things like a pipeline built from Russia to carry gas through North Korea down to South Korea. Eventually over to Japan. You would see railways, you would see North Korea, which there basically is little leverage in that economy. You would see lots of investment pouring into that country. But already the country's getting some growth. Last year, according to the South Korean officials, North Korea got 4.2% growth, which is faster than South Korea because they've already started to make a lot of reforms.
Right. So on the one hand, an opening up of an economy, and on the other hand, when we're talking about Iran and the scrap nuclear deal, frankly, the closing down of borders, and, you know, we're looking at the Boeings of the world that are losing $20 billion deals, a lot of American companies wondering what's going to happen in terms of sanctions, a huge potential opportunity for the Russias and Chinas of the world to go in and do business in America's absence. What are the risks and potential unintended consequences of the scrapping of the Iran nuclear deal?
Well, I think, first of all, this pushes Iran even deeper into alliances, economic and perforce strategic alliance with the Russians and the Chinese. Like the sanctions on Russia, have pushed Russia into a strategic alliance with China. I'm not sure that that's a great strategic victory for the people who have been behind sanctions. I think, secondly, the sanctions this time will not be respected as they were in the past. I don't see the Chinese respecting them. I think the Russians will be able to do deals with the Iranians where they take Iranian oil and then they just sell it as their own oil on the international market. I think the Europeans want to find a way to continue having economic relations with Iran. So it's going to be a much tougher road for the Americans, and behind the Americans, of course, the Israelis, which are pushing day and night for this new sanction regime on Iran than it was previously.
Ken, you were on this show, gosh, I want to say 18 months, maybe even 2 years ago, saying that oil would climb its way back up to, I think your target was $72. It's at $69 and $70 now, mostly on anticipation of this exact move and the scrapping of the Iran nuclear deal. Where do you expect it to go, and how does that sort of play out in the broader global economy?
I think I'm still looking for oil to trade into the mid-70s at some point this year. I'm talking WTI, Peter.
Right.
But I think it'll come off here a bit. It's run up quite a lot in the last few weeks. So we should get a correction as it go to the mid-60s, a little bit lower. But longer term, I'm looking still for higher oil prices, Peter, because apart from shale, where you can increase production quite quickly, all the other oil, and shale represents, total U.S. production only represents 7-8% of total world production. All of the rest of production has 5-6 year lead times between starting the investment and bringing the oil on stream. And we've had such a dramatic cutback in capital investment since the crash of 2014-15 that we're going to face energy shortages as we move ahead, for little that the world economy keeps growing at 2 to 3, 4% as it is now. So I think later, 1920, we'll see oil again above 80 into the $90 a barrel range.
Certainly good for the Canadian oil industry. Ken, we got to leave it there. Great to see you. Thanks for doing this. Ken Courtis, Chairman at Starfort Investment Holdings.